Okay, let's talk about the third one, which is corporations. Corporations, too, have advantages and disadvantages. When you hear the word corporation, when you hear a business as a corporation, what do you think of? What do you perceive? Big. Big. In most states, one person can create a corporation. So it's just simply prestige. And it's a perceived thing. Because you can have two plumbers side by side. One's a corporation, one's a proprietorship. That might be the only people working in that business. And just simply because this one's a corporation, you're going to think that it's a bigger business than the proprietorship. So prestige is one positive thing to a corporation that the others don't have. Another advantage that a corporation has is reduced risk. When you create a corporation, you have created a different entity, different person. And that person is responsible for its own actions. And if that person fails, that person pays. But the shareholders don't. In a corporation, there is no such thing as an owner. They don't own the business. They don't own the corporation. There are shareholders that own shares, but they don't own the business. And that distinction is critical to understanding the rest. But a corporation simply means that when we create it, we're creating a different entity that's responsible for its own actions. And the third advantage is it's separate from the owner. Now, I put owner. I want to make sure you understand, once again, there is no such thing as an owner of a corporation. There are shareholders. Now, you'll have people say, yeah, it's my business, it's my corporation, I own it. That's not true. And if they really knew what they were saying, they wouldn't say it. Because when you're an owner of a business, it makes you responsible for its actions. But I don't own the business. I own shares in the business. Now, I might run it. I might make all the decisions for it, but I don't own it. I own the shares. As it's separate from the owner, that means if the shareholder dies, the shares are simply passed on to the heirs. The corporation doesn't miss a beat. It's got its own life. It continues to run. If a shareholder wants out, he or she sells the shares. They don't sell the corporation. The corporation continues to exist. Well, the corporation has its own life. Okay? Now, the downside is it's more expensive to create. You have a fee, a filing fee that you pay when you first file for the corporation. It's not very much. In most states, it will depend upon the state. Here in Utah, it's $55. Other states, they've got their own fees. So it's fairly inexpensive. You can create your own articles. You don't have to go to an attorney to get the articles prepared. If it's only one shareholder, there is no reason to go to an attorney, in my opinion, to get the articles prepared. The only time that I really find an attorney is valuable in preparing the articles is when there's a lot of shareholders, and then you build bylaws into it and so forth, and then an attorney becomes important. Secondly, it's highly regulated. The state takes over a little bit, and they say that here are the rules. You must keep minutes of your meetings. You must have a stockholders meeting every year to vote on the board of directors. You must file an annual report with the state. So it requires that you do these things, and when I'm talking about it sounds like a lot of work. It's usually not. It's usually a lot simpler than it would sound like it is. And finally, you got to treat it differently. Now, let me show you what I mean by this. Okay? When you have a proprietorship and you want money out of the company bank account, what do? You take it. If you're a corporation, if the business is a corporation and there's money in the corporate bank account, whose money is it? Corporations, not the shareholders. Can you go take it if you want to? No, it's not yours. It's a corporation's. It's the same thing as stealing when you take it out, if you're unauthorized. Okay? Now I want to show you what that means. Let's go through the process of creating a corporation. I want to start a dog grooming business, and I'm worried about, dog bites and things like that, and so I want to have some protection personally, so I'm going to create a corporation so that if I have employees and they get bitten on the job, I have some protection personally from it, okay? Or another customer that gets bitten by another customer's dog. So anyway, I go on and I prepare the articles. Just 2 pages long, very simple, fill in the blank stuff. I prepare the articles, I take them down to the state office, I file them, pay my filing fee. That afternoon, the corporation's created. It was done. It was that easy. Okay? Now, my first requirement, I own all the shares. I am the only shareholder in this corporation. And my first requirement is to have a shareholders meeting. What's that?
Write some notes.
That's I don't even need a mirror. Now I can just have a meeting with myself, okay?
Take notes.
And you've got to take notes. Now, or I could invite a spouse or friend to be my note taker during this meeting, and we could have it at
Bermuda.
Olive Garden.
Oh, I like Bermuda.
Well, we got to use some reasonability in here. You actually could not do that unless there was a reason why you had to do it in Bermuda, as opposed to.
The other shareholder was going to.
If they lived in Bermuda, that might be an idea. Okay, that might justify it. But anyway, if I'm just going to have a meeting with myself, it's probably I can do it in a restaurant, and so I just have minutes, and someone maybe take it, the head of the top of the minutes, and it can be handwritten, although usually they're typed to give them more professional appearance. And it might say minutes of stockholders meeting for XYZ dog grooming business held on such and such a date, and present were. Okay, at such and such a place, and then I name who's present in there. Okay. And then my only job is to vote my shares for board of directors. That's my only job as a shareholder, okay? That's the only thing I can do. I don't have any rights otherwise. If I don't like who's the board of directors, I can change it at any time. Now, the board of directors, if you only have one shareholder, you only got to have one board member. And it can be anybody I want it to be, as long as they're legal age, that will agree to be the board member. Now, I want somebody that's going to listen to me and care about my feelings and agree with what I have to say, right? Could it be my spouse? Could it be my best friend? Could it be me? Yes. So let's nominate who it's going to be. I want to be it. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Now we note in the minutes, nominated was such and such, unanimously approved by all votes. Such and such. Huh? You could do that. And once that's done, I'm done with this meeting. Now I finish my dinner and move on. Okay? Shareholders meeting is done. Now once I take my shareholders hat off, now I put on my board member's hat. Now as a board member, my job is to make sure I got the right people running the corporation. It's not to do the daily ins and outs of the corporations. Okay? I don't make the decisions for the corporations. I got to find people that will do that. And I might meet just once a year, again, to make sure that I got the right officers in there. And what do you think we have to keep while I'm meeting? Minutes. Okay? And so, again, I say, honey, will you take notes? Let's go to dinner. And so we go to dinner, and she keeps notes, and I have a board meeting. And I'm the only board member in there. Minutes of board meeting for XYZ Dog Grooming Company held on such and such a date at such and such a place. Present were. Okay? And I list the names. And then I say, we need to have officers for our corporation. Now, if I only have one stockholder, I only got to have one officer. Okay? That officer can be president, secretary, and treasurer of this corporation. I want somebody in there that's going to listen to me because I'm listening to the shareholders. Because I want to be re-voted for here. I don't want if the shareholder votes me out, I got a problem in this corporation, right? But I want so I'm going to get the right persons. And it can be anybody that's legal age.
Legal age being 18, 21.
Could it be my spouse? Could it be my Legal age son? Can it be me? Yes. Just has to be somebody. They don't have to own shares. It can be anybody as long as they accept the job. Okay? So, it was nominated. Everyone, all approved, say aye. Aye. Okay, unanimously approved. We approached him. He accepted the job at X salary with X benefits. Okay?
Get 100%.
That's right.
All you.
Okay, so now I take off my hat, my board member's hat. Now I put on my president's hat. I'm the president. Now I worry about the daily affairs of the business. Not as a shareholder, not as a board member, but as a president of this corporation. I have a job. I was hired by the board to do this job. I get a salary, or I might get paid hourly, or may get commission. I don't know. But I have a job to do. And every day I'm going to come to work and I'm going to get paid just like any of the other employees. And I get the same benefits as the other employees. Now, if I'm the only employee in this business and the board wants to give me some great benefits, is that pretty good? But can you see some advantages there to a corporation? Now, here's the problem. I got all this cash sitting here in the bank account. And it's building because my corporation is doing well and it's getting bigger and bigger. And I've always wanted to take my family on a trip around the world. And I've got enough money in that account to do it. Can I write a check to pay for it?
Make your family.
There's got to be a business need for it before you can do that. But I have to go back to the board to get authorized to take that money out. And I have to take it out in one of three ways. I can get a bonus. I can get a loan. I can get dividends. Well, I guess the fourth way is increase my salary. Okay, so I can do that too. But if I get a bonus or increase a salary, then taxes need to be withheld from it, and it will be included in my W-2 as employee earnings. If I get dividends, I'm going to have to report it for tax purposes, right? And pay taxes on that. So those are all legal ways to do it. I have to get approval from whom? Board of Directors. Or the last one is I borrow it. Now, if I borrow, what does that imply? That I'm going to pay it back at a certain interest rate over a certain period of time. And that all needs to be documented in the notes. So can you see it's a little bit different than a proprietorship? As long as you do all those things and you're following what you're supposed to be doing, if your corporation fails, the creditors come in, they take all your business assets. You go back home, you've no longer got a job, but you've still got your house and your car and all those other things out there. But the idea of the corporation is to protect you when you are not at fault, and that's what you're trying to do. When someone's out driving the company car and runs into somebody else, they might come after the corporation, but there should be some protection to the shareholders. However, most corporations do not do everything they're supposed to be doing. You might have been involved with a corporation that never once had a stockholders meeting, didn't keep a good set of books, took out money whenever they wanted to without getting board of directors approval. If they did any one of those things, they are weakening that corporate protection. And in the court of law, if the creditors come in and say, hey, look, they're not treating this like a corporation, they're not following the laws and regulations associated with corporation, if that happens, the court, the judge, will step aside. And he'll say, I'm sorry, but if you're not following the rules of the game, I can't allow you to be protected by those articles. And that's called piercing the corporate veil. And it happens every day in this state and all over the country. The lawyers brag about the fact that they can pierce any corporate veil because most corporations do not comply with all the rules and regulations of the corporate law. Okay? The chart of accounts in a corporation look different than a proprietorship and partnership. Here they are. One is common stock, also known as capital stock. Okay? And that is what was paid to the corporation for the stock in that business. Now, just to, for a second, go back and look at what I'm referring to here. We have a corporation, general ledger, and it has the asset section, and it has the capital section, and underneath the capital section, it has an account called common stock. And that's to record whatever was received. But let me say this, that let's say that the in order to start a corporation, you invest $1,000 in that corporation, you get 1,000 shares back, okay? So $1 per share. You got stock. That's what you own is stock. Corporation got $1,000, right? They put that stock or that $1,000 in the bank. That shows what the business got, right? It's in the bank. It's an asset. Where did it come from? Common stock. Is this a debit or credit? Debit, because it shows what we got, right? Is this a debit or credit? Credit, because it shows where that 1,000 came from. Do you see that? So this simply represents the source of that asset. Now, if we buy stock in another corporation, a different corporation, is it an asset to us? You know, we might own stock in XYZ Corporation, which is a different corporation than this company, and that's going to be an asset to us, okay? But this is just for the stock that we sell from our corporation to the shareholders, okay? Retained earnings is prior year profits, and earnings is this year's profit, okay? So, if there is no balance in the retained earnings account in the general ledger, it says this is the first year of operations. We didn't have any prior year profits. And we'll just accumulate earnings the first year in here. At the end of the year, we're going to take this year's earnings out and we're going to put them in here. So at the beginning of the next year, this will have a balance and this will be zero because there's been no net profit. And we'll start accumulating the new profits in here next year. Okay? And then at the end of the year, we'll take it out and put it in here again. Okay? So retained earnings is the profits from prior years. Earnings is the profits for this year. Okay?